it seems to be going pretty good right now. I don't plan on making any new DVDs. I'm really just mainly focusing on the membership site.
Very cool. Now, so we've got a sense of who your niche is here. You already mentioned that. What was that process like for you? I mean, it sounds like it was pretty natural for you to consider something in the illustration, drawing, art, some kind of field like that for a niche. But maybe talk to us a little bit about that process, because it's a tough one for people, and they can get hung up. Or did you ever doubt that as your niche, or how did you arrive at feeling like, okay, this is definitely what I need to go ahead and pursue? What was that process like for you?
Well, you're right. It was extremely natural, and I always thought that I had something good with what I was teaching at the school. I always got pretty good feedback from the students, and they're like, "Wow, I like this. I'm learning a lot from you, and I never learned these things before." And I said, well, let me just package what I teach in my class. I teach drawing in layers, and there's several layers that you need to master, and then you apply those layers. You think of those layers, and you draw in your own style. So the layers are really something that you would use internally, mentally. And it was very, very natural for me. I mean, I did have some questions. Do I do painting? Do I do just drawing? Do I teach people how to become illustrators? Because that's a whole nother niche that I have not explored. It's a class that I teach at the school as well. But I took the lifestyle design really into effect, and I'm like, there's nothing simpler than drawing with a pencil. You just pick it up and you start drawing. With painting, that's a little bit more complicated. Even though painting is my main skill, and that's what I did my whole entire life was paint realistic book covers, I'm like, I don't know if I want to film that. That's going to be pretty nuts, because when you have to draw on camera and speak at the same time, that's tough enough. And then incorporating the painting into it would be perhaps like a multi-camera task. So it was very, very natural, and it didn't take me too long to, get into it. I was really lucky that I was already doing what I'm doing right now. I've been doing it since 1997. That's when I started teaching. And so it's just a matter of setting the camera up in my studio and putting it right over my shoulder and just drawing. There were some questions. Now, in terms of somebody else trying to figure out their niche, I'm a big believer, and I think we think very similar. I would never do what I wasn't passionate about. I mean, that's the thing. Drawing is my life, and drawing and painting is something I've been doing my entire life. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I so love hearing when people are doing what they're passionate about. I mean, I have one of my brothers is an artist, and he's always asking me about, can I do art and make money online? And I'm like, yes, people are doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you found the way to make it work. And this is so absolutely awesome.
And what's really cool about your story is how you clearly you went down the path of passion, and then at the same time you tempered a little bit with some of that pragmatic thought, going, okay, well, let's see, painting versus drawing, there's an easier barrier of entry if I just teach stuff that somebody can pick up paper and pencil and start doing, what I'm teaching, and let me think about the content creation and what might be easier for the lifestyle I want. So it's awesome. It sounds like you found just the right balance there for yourself to do something you're passionate about, but make sure that it fit your lifestyle and it was still practical for a business and maximizing the market potential there. So some great little tidbits to pull out of your story.
Sure. And, I'm leaving myself open for the future, because I always like to evolve, and I could always go to the painting thing next. I'm also... Yeah, I can always go to possibly teaching somebody how to start off as a career as an illustrator. Right now, I've got, everything is kind of loaded up in terms of my time, so I'm not going to branch out and spread myself too thin. But in the future, I will definitely explore those other two venues.
Awesome.
Well, I'm just curious, does any of your students at the college there, do they know you have the site?
Well, this absolutely. This is the beautiful thing. I devote one page on the site. It's a homework page. So basically what I do is I put all my videos on that one page. And the beauty of it with teaching at the school is that I will never, ever run out of ideas for content. I really do find myself in a unique situation. Lately, of course, with the students' permission, I've been doing a drawing tip of the week with them, and where I give them exposure, and I just take my iPhone and I film their sketchbook. We were at the Metropolitan Museum of Art today, and one student from Spain, his sketchbook is so good, and these students are so talented. And I'm like, let me film your sketchbook. I've got to do this. I've got to share this with all the people who are subscribed to my site and to my YouTube page as well. And it's working out really well. They know that I have the site. And I kind of find with the students at the school, you're either a person who loves to watch stuff online or you don't. You know, you like more of the personal interaction in the classroom. But I find that most of the members of my site are people who would really like to be able to go to the School of Visual Arts. The School of Visual Arts is a really good school on the East Coast of the United States, and they just, for whatever reason, they just don't go there. And so that's one of the hooks that I have for the site in terms of signing up to it. You're going to get the same content. I'm teaching somebody who's paying $30,000 a year to learn for my low membership site fee. So yes, they do know, and they're involved with it. I use the site in the classroom. That was another reason why I designed these DVDs, to use them as like a recap for what I teach in the classroom.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
That's very cool. Well, okay, so what fears have you faced along the way with starting your business, and how did you overcome them?
Well, the biggest fear, since I am so a non-techie, and I mean my whole 20s I was like living in the 1800s, just like painting. And so my first computer was a little iMac, and my biggest fear was I didn't know how to set up a website, and it was about the HTML. And at the time, I was just flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't know anything about virtual assistants before I learned about your podcast. I mean, that was my fear. I had my e-commerce site. I purchased it from the company, and they're like, here it is. Here's your blank page. And I thought I was just going to go on in there and start, typing in. But they're like, nope, you have a Mac. You can't use our WYSIWYG. So I just had to learn the HTML. But I love being challenged like that. Like, it wasn't perfect. It took me a long time. There was a lot of screaming involved when I was trying to learn, HTML. That was my biggest fear, having to deal with a blank page. My second biggest fear was creating the content, and it was there was a lot of trial and error involved in the content creation in the beginning. Do I show more of my face on the camera? Do I zoom in just to my hand? Do I need to move the camera? What type of camera do I need? That all of that stuff. I mean, I really learned the whole business from soup to nuts all on my own. Originally, in terms of doing the video editing and all that. So I still do it now. There's some minor things, like I said, that I have outsourced, but for the most part, I still do it all. But now it's so much easier because I've done it. I've made all the mistakes, and it just is like so easy because it's all in my subconscious. I kind of just like make it happen. But those are my two biggest fears. A second part to that question, I mean, I have fears now. I've learned all that stuff, but as you grow and as you get bigger, you're constantly getting new fears. And I think that's a good thing. And it's one of my things, like, I always want to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I always want to feel a little bit uneasy. And if I feel that way, I know that I'm growing. If I feel like I'm going to be totally safe and, okay, yeah, I got this. This is cool. I know how to do this now. I have some new fears, and they're pretty big ones right now, but I'm kind of going about it the same way. I'm just kind of pushing through that brick wall and figuring out ways to deal with the new challenges that have arisen.
Yeah, I know. In the Academy, we actually talk a lot about the fears, because that's one of those tools that you need to be able to get really good at, is how to get through your fears and push past it. Because, yeah, we go through it all at the same time, too. We're constantly going, okay, what are we going to do next? And then it's like, oh, we've never done this.
Yeah.
I hope it works. So you just have to get to the point where you can trust that you'll make it work. And, there's just very specific tips on helping people through the fears. But it's always interesting to hear what fears people had and how they got through them. Love it.
Yeah,